my dream, which I'm doing now, but really starting to build my tribe, starting to create more people around me in addition to the ones I already have that are, driven, that have purpose. Because one of the things I truly just love is investing in other people. Like I love seeing other people grow. So continue to have awesome people.
There's a difference between a dream chaser and a dream catcher.
Thanks all for tuning in to Dreamcatchers, where we make things happen. Dreamcatchers was formally launched to unlock the hidden potential in successful, self-motivated individuals who desire to take their life's work to the next level but need support to evolve. We are a collective group of professionals with various backgrounds that use our talents to assist those individuals in realizing their wildest dreams by providing education, inspiration, and direction. This podcast is where we share the lessons we've learned along the way to catching our dreams and give you some context around the how and the why to each approach to put you further ahead on the journey to catching your dream. Are you ready?
Hey everybody, and welcome to the Dreamcatchers podcast. I'm your host, Jerome, and I've got Kofi Thompson in the building with me today, all the way in from Richmond, Virginia. Kofi, how are you, sir?
I am living my best life right now. I feel like I'm living in purpose. And
living on purpose. We'll have to dig into that. We do things unconventionally here, man. How can the listeners get in contact with you? They're going to love your journey. So let's give them the info up front.
Yeah, absolutely. So feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn, Kofi Thompson there. Check out my website, kofithompson.nm.com, Instagram at Kofi the Creator, and Kofi Thompson on Facebook as well. So feel free. I love connecting.
I'm on all the social channels. I got the web going. I got this whole internet thing happening. So people are like, Kofi, what's a Kofi? So the name's uncommon, brother. Let's talk a little bit about your origin story. Who are you? Like, where'd you get started? And we'll unpack this thing because you've got some really good twists and turns on your journey.
Yeah, absolutely. So my journey starts when I was growing up in my household. Things were difficult for me in my childhood. Both of my parents had mental illnesses. My dad had bipolar, my mom had schizophrenia, and it was just extremely tough growing up. There was always just abuse going on, them getting in fights, emotional abuse, a lot of arguments. I used to just remember, biggest thing is like seeing my mom get dragged down to the floor and cops arresting her because of some fight that my parents had. And I continued on into high school, and at that point I started to just like have a little bit more awareness about what was going on. So I started to try and actively escape out of the environment that I was in, and uh didn't do it right at all. Like I started hanging out with people, not the right people. I started drinking, started doing drugs, doing all the things just to escape from the environment that I lived in. And it was like just the only option that I saw. I didn't really have any other options. So that's just how I coped. And then moving on, at 18, I was applying to colleges, all these things. I didn't think I could get in anywhere. Didn't have the finances to it all. So um, I just moved out of my house, started working, started really just like kind of living on my own. And the bad habits just continued after that. I didn't really go anywhere for like 3-4 years after I left my house at 18, until I had a huge moment. I always say that this was the punch in the face that God knew I needed, but I ended up getting jumped when I was 21, trying to protect a friend. And I got hit in the back of the jaw, 2 titanium plates put in my jaw, about $80,000 of surgery, which I didn't, when I saw that bill, I had no idea what I was going to do. And 6 weeks of having my jaw recovered. During that time, I really stopped living in the past and started living for the future. I think the whole period for that before then, I was just, feeling sorry for myself. I had a victim mindset. I was like, oh my gosh, none of the things went right. And then that happened, and it actually gave me time to reflect And one of the biggest impacts is I read Stephen Covey's book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And in his book, he says, begin with the end in mind. And that's what I actually started to do. I started to think, all right, what type of future do I want? What type of future do I want to build? Do I want a family? Do I want, to have a great life and a great community? And I was like, okay, I do want those things. What I'm doing is not getting me there. I need to change it up. Einstein says the definition of insanity is doing the same thing, expecting a different result. So if I just kept doing the same thing, nothing's going to change. So I started reading a lot more, started getting a lot more into like personal development. The road was still bumpy. Then after that, like I really didn't have, much in towards of like finances. I was still pretty broke. I was still, going in and out of my good habits. And I remember at one point I was coming up to the end of a lease. I was in a position where like, it was just hard to put food on the table. I would go to Kroger, buy a pizza, eat half it and return it. Just 'cause I didn't have the money to afford the whole pizza. And like, I was just life for me at that point, just living in scarcity. I continued on. I eventually got back into school, started to just really, again, just get by as much as I could. Um, then I started to pursue what my childhood dream was of becoming a doctor. So I went to school and actually started doing pretty well. Got scholarships to pay for college. I was so excited about that and really just started to live and try to just do the best I could. And that led me up until like 23, 24. Then I had a huge, another like life-changing shift. I read Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. And that, wow, that completely shifted my mindset of where I want to be in the future. And so I decided to pursue entrepreneurship. That actually first started off, I was actually pursuing getting a real estate agent's license. Then I feel like as God's plan, I came upon financial advising. And so I've been a financial advisor since 2019. And yeah, I'm truly just living my purpose now.
So it's interesting. You consider advising your purpose. So did you grow up wealthy, or like how does being a financial advisor align with being your purpose?
Yeah, great question. So I did not grow up wealthy at all. Like lived in like a one parent household with a single income. I remember like roaches in my cereal, all that stuff. Like we had bed bugs. We just didn't have finances for really anything. Like I started working pretty early just so I could like go out with my friends. So money was never something I really even thought of. Like I didn't know how it worked. Never really heard of investing until like around like 21, 22. Like this was completely just out of my um field of view. But I saw the impact of it before I even knew what it really was. Like I saw my parents not have any finances at all. I saw my parents, unfortunately, this was about a couple months when I was in my practice. Um, my father got really sick and actually passed away from esophageal cancer. And I saw the impact of like not having a plan, not having life insurance, no estate planning, not doing any of these things. And I realized like I went into medicine because I wanted to help people, but for me too, as well as building relationships. So that's one way in which that this career has brought to me, but also seeing what my parents went through, I realized that I now could be in a position where I could give people the knowledge and the resources to never have that happen again. So I realized that I don't want anyone that I come in contact with to have to face the things in life without having the knowledge to at least make a good decision. I don't think that anyone should have to pass off debt instead of wealth. Anyone should have to live through not just the financial, but also the emotional troubles of someone passing away. So, yeah, I feel like in many different ways, like God kind of made me go through those things to give me perspective into what I do today. And that's something I carry on with the clients I work with.
Now,
Wow. Yeah.
I gotta drop the bomb, brother, because you said nobody should pass on debt instead of wealth.
Hmm.
What are you talking about?
Yeah. So, you know, what I realize is that when it comes down to, finances in life, they obviously don't produce happiness, but they produce options. They produce the options to allow us to go send our children to school, go provide necessary healthcare for the people they care about, make a change in the community. And in so many different communities that are underserved, we just continue living in this like perpetuation of just passing off debt and just living in this like repetitive cycle of passing off debt. And for me, it's like, all right, if I see it as I'm going to live, a life, hopefully a long life, but I want the people around me, especially people I care about, to be in a better position for me being there. Not to say that, when I pass away, people are going to have to worry emotionally, but they shouldn't have to worry financially. I want to be able to send that I love you check. And I know that so many people truly care about the people that are around them, but oftentimes just don't think about, all right, what happens if I'm not there?
Okay. So you're saying if a parent dies and they're not in great financial standing, then their children can inherit their debt? Is that what you
100%. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. There are expenses that come off when you pass away. There's also more than anything else, like the mindset that passes off as well too. Like,
Okay. So let's go there, right?
yeah.
Because I think people can wrap their head around the fact that, somebody's got to pay for the final expenses of a person
Mhm.
being laid to rest. And, if your net worth is $3,000 and a funeral costs 25,000, there's somebody's got to figure out how to pay that because the funeral home's not going to do it for free. I can guarantee
Yeah.
you that. My family's been in the funeral business for a while, so
Yeah.
yeah. So, but you're saying there's a mindset situation too,
Mhm.
and you mentioned rich dad, poor dad. So, I mean, help me go down this path. Like, what is kind of poverty mindset, or what is wealth mindset? However you want to characterize it, so the listeners can get a hold of this thing.
Yeah, absolutely. So, where for me, because I had to break out of this, it starts in the scarcity mindset, you know, and this was something that in growing up, I lived in. We feel like there's just a lack of finances out there. You can't build wealth. Like, there's no options out there. You gotta, get a job. Like, it's just like this kind of living day by day in this reactive mindset. Like, okay, I'm just gonna take things as they go and not actually plan for the future or realize that there's abundance out there. There's so much and there's enough for everyone. But if like the same problems that we face today can't be solved with the same way of thinking. And that scarcity that, for one, like I had to break out of that I continue to have just didn't allow me to see all the opportunity that was out there as well. Like it's something that's so limited. And, we're not taught this stuff in school. We're not taught this, depending on who you're hanging around with, like you may not be talking about it. So we just continue to do what we're doing, not seeing all the options that are out there. I feel like it comes from this like closed lens view that we can have. When I transitioned to that abundance and wealth mindset, I really started to see that there's so much out there for every single person. Like it does require us to work on ourselves, to really do the deep work on ourselves to improve ourselves. Like not just the shallow parts, but who we are, who we want to embody, our character, our values. But when I started living in this abundance mindset, I realized that there are more options and opportunities out there that I can take advantage of. Like wealth is really, I know this may sound weird, but it's not that hard to create. like it's like success leaves clues. And by falling, and one of the biggest things is like, seeing whether it be people that are doing the things you're doing and taking note. You don't necessarily have to like them. They don't have to be your best friend. But what are the things that they did right? How did they get into those positions? And also taking advice from the right people as well. If someone is not in the position you want to be, and you're taking advice from them about that specific thing, probably, not something you necessarily want to follow in that regard. So I believe the wealth mindset just really comes from seeing the world for all the opportunity that is there.
Okay. 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 So you said creating wealth is not that hard.
Yeah.
Holy smokes,
Oh,
man.
yeah.
And so, like, you're in the advisor space, you're moving around. You had a ton of success last year. I mean, I got to watch a lot of it, and I'm eating my popcorn, cheering from the stands. Feel like I might have thrown some peanuts at some people every now and again, but it was just a really exciting ride, especially on the end where you just kind of sprinted through the finish line. And so, at this point, you, it's announced that you're rookie of the year for the state of Virginia for the firm that you're working with. And I mean, I think it's a pretty stellar accomplishment and puts you in elite company. And so you said, well, I didn't have a great example of wealth, but you've been running in your purpose and helping people for the last a little over 18 months now, maybe almost 2 years. What is now it's 2 years at this point. What is the secret sauce, man? Like, how do you get in a space when you come from a background where you don't identify as wealthy, but you're helping people protect their wealth and then create more?
Yeah. So I'll say there's top three. I'm gonna go over top three things that allowed me to be in that space and really, understand that wealth is easy to create. One of them is like I had to be coachable and unlearn what I thought I knew to learn something different that I could now apply to approach a different problem that I had no idea I could solve. So, and that sounds a little, I hope I said that right, but like, again, like the problems that we face today can be solved with the same way of thinking. And so now, we face, we want to face a bigger problem. How do I create wealth? All right, let me learn new skills. Let me see how I can apply myself and see how I can grow and learn how to deliver value, because I really see money as just a translation of value. Like whenever we start a business, it's really just like money is just the representation of what you can get. All right, let me deliver value, learn how to deliver value. So then other people will then give me their business. Let me learn how to improve someone's life and what they're doing, learn how to get them there faster. And really understand also personality, being personable, like, because someone has to like you before they'll work with you. They have to know you care before they care what you know. But learning to work on myself enough to build the skills, and then the money comes. Like, it's really just a direct translation of that value. Second is, again, like being coachable and being humble. Like I realized at all where I'm at in life, even up until now, are all accumulation of the decisions and choices that I made and the mindset that I had behind those choices. So I have to accept everything I have at this moment. If we don't have what we have at this moment, we got to make different choices. Because where we end up, it's like Jim Quick said this really well. He's like, life is the C between the B and the D, like the choices we make between birth and death. And those choices essentially create that life that we have. So if we want to have more wealth, we got to make different choices. We got to be more open. We got to learn more. And third, consistency and work. Like, the work is not something we can there's no way to work around the work. Like you gotta do the work. I think that's oftentimes one of the hardest thing, like, and even more so the consistency of the work. Like not thinking, okay, like it's a whole lifestyle change. It's like getting healthy. Like you don't eat one carrot and say, oh, I'm good for a week. No, it's a lifestyle change. Like you gotta start living healthy, you gotta start living wealthy, and really like embodying that person, and like realizing like, okay, you have to become that person to draw wealth to you. We had a conversation about this the other day, like really becoming that person, because when you are that person, it's like the law of attraction just comes. But if we are not having those things right now, it's because we're not that person yet. Doesn't mean we can't be that person, but we're not that person yet. So we got to do the work. We got to have consistency and have that patience, because it's built over the long term.
It is built over the long term. Rome wasn't built in a day, huh?
100%.
Okay, so give me the three. I got the work because you can't work around the work. I love that. I've never
Yeah.
heard that before. You can't work around the work. Give me the other two.
You can't work on the work. Be humble and be coachable. And also understand like the definition of insanity is repeating the same thing and expecting a different result. Like we got to change. If we're not getting the results that we want, we got to change the things that we're doing. And you got to try something new. And then the thing you may try may not be it, but at least you know what didn't work. Like that's how like a lot of scientists experiments will go. It's like, all right, like let's figure out what doesn't work so we can narrow down our options to what does work.
So, I'm sitting here and I'm like, man, this guy is saying I gotta be open to changing the way that I've done things because it's not gonna get me what I want.
Mm-hmm.
I can't just continue the old patterns and be on autopilot. We call that taking the red pill, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. And then I got to be willing to do the work. And the way I characterize the work is being willing to do whatever it takes for however long it takes until you get the outcome that you desire. And so you've got this formula, kind of this recipe that you're using to change your life, but it's also changing the lives of the folks that you serve, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. And so when somebody comes to you and they might not have the best mindset around money and the energy that that currency is, like how
Mm-hmm.
do you help them move from that space of where they are, where they may have some anxiety, maybe a little bit of shame
Mm-hmm.
about it, to that new space where they're wealthy and healthy? Because I think those are the two words that you use that I think you're kind of hoping or trying to lead or guide them to from their current station in life.
Yeah, absolutely. Great question. So the first thing I did realize is, all right, they gotta want it more than I want it for them. I can't drag them across the finish line. Like you can't play in the championship and be, passive about it. You can't win and be your best self unless you truly want those things. So identifying the people that truly want them and are truly willing to do the work, that's one piece. But when I know that's there, I understand, all right, why do you want this? Like what is it that you actually want? Like what are your desires? What are your goals? And like what does that mean to you? And then I go through and focus on, all right, what does it look like if you don't have that? Is that
Oh,
like,
so there's a consequence for the thing. It's not all pleasure. There might be some pain associated with not actually doing it. Okay.
oh yeah. Cause there's always two sides, we're either leaning towards or leaning against. And I believe that focusing on that, because I'm going to get into just like, but yeah. So focusing on that consequence, what does it look like if you don't have it? Is it truly like, is it painful enough for you? Do you just kind of want these things, or are you really willing to do the work? Because if you truly want these things, then we can go to that next step and say, all right, let's look at your actions and your goals. Are they aligned? If we're telling ourselves that we want to be a, NFL player, but we're eating chips and sitting on the couch, we're not aligning with the goals. It's not going to happen. You're not going to wake up one day with that six pack. You're not going to wake up one day with that, $5, $6, $7 million. Like, it just doesn't just happen. And we have to intentionally align, because and this is why I say wealth is easy, because it's really just align the habits, align the character, align the goals. There's some things that happen in life we just can't control. I understand that, but really embodying and becoming that person through the habits in our lifestyle that will then perpetuate everything else, and aligning our actions with our goals. Because myself included, I feel like so many times I often had a desire, I had something, but I wasn't doing the right actions. I would tell myself I want something and do the complete opposite. And so many people live in that life and then wonder why they're not lucky enough, or they weren't chosen to have this thing, or things along those lines. But it's all right, if you're, in a relationship and someone is with you and they're not loving you, they don't listen to you, they yell at you all the time and all those things like that, but they tell you want a happy relationship. Well, one, if you don't get a counselor, you should probably break up with them. But those actions are not aligning with those goals. So either one, you need to change those actions, or you need to realize I need to change my goals. That may just be something, maybe it's just not something you really want. And I think it's even better to accept that and say, hey, that's not something I want, then continue to live inauthentically.
Okay. So they're walking on this journey with you. You're showing them the consequences of not changing their actions after you identify that they're out of alignment. And you're also telling them the reward, but you bring up a really important point. One of my friends used to say, it's not about what you want, it's about what you're willing to sacrifice. And if you're willing to sacrifice X, but you need to sacrifice X and Y to get the outcome, then you're never going to have the outcome. Ow.
What's up, tribe? It's your host, Jerome. I just want to let you know that we put together a free 15-point checklist for exiting the matrix. Jump on over to dreamshouldbereal.com in order to pick your free copy up. Let's get back to it.
Because a lot of us want to negotiate. We want to barter with the price of admission to our dreams, but nobody adjusts. There is no change in the fee. The fee is the fee, and you have to be okay with that fee.
Oh yeah, 100%.
And so then we either adjust the goal down because the fee is too much, or we decide that we don't deserve that for ourselves. And then when we get to the end, we settled and we realize, oh, I really wanted the other thing. I didn't want what I settled for. And so I just think that's a really interesting point, because we can count the money, but there's so many other things that we want in our life, especially if we want a life of abundance, that we might not be able to put a number on or count it. But we do know for a fact that we did not do all that we were supposed to do in order to get that outcome. So I appreciate you bringing that to light, man. I think you might have already touched on this, but I want to go there because, once you're having, a lot of success, people think there was no real struggle. And you opened up with a pretty, I'll call it bleak story, right? You talked about being in the hospital and huge hospital bills and so on. So when you were in the hospital with your jaws wired shut, was that the rock bottom for you, or was there another space?
That was definitely that was a second of 3 rock bottoms, actually. So I had multiple rock bottoms in life that really had a mind shift change for me. So I'd say the first one was when I was 18, I was moving out of my house, and my dad had bipolar, so he gets, kind of into manic rages and things. So we, have arguments, and he was pretty disappointed in me. Um, Based off how I was living my life. I was just smoking weed and drinking and not doing anything not living to the capacity that he knew I could live. And so we got into this huge argument, and he told me to kill myself because my life is worthless. And so that was like the first, and I carried that for so long. That was like the first like hit that I had, that really, threw me for a whirlwind. Second, yeah, the jaw getting broken. Like I realized at that point, that yeah, I had to change my habits. I had to start living in my purpose. And if I'm going to continue doing the same things, it may be another jaw broken, it may be something else, but it's just going to continue to be hurt and pain and suffering, and me just hoping and wishing, wow, why isn't life different? And so after that, that's like, I feel like it started this fire in me to like work. And I felt like I had to catch up. Like all my friends at that point had like almost gotten close to graduating college and doing different things. And I just was like, wow, I've been drinking and smoking for the last 3-4 years. And that gave me a true point to just truly reflect on the past and decide, okay, I'm going to start making the future I want instead of living in the past. And then third was when I actually started working at Northwestern Mutual, my firm. And I went through this period because actually when I first started, my father was unfortunately diagnosed with terminal cancer, and it was difficult. Like I had to continue to work, try to start a business while he was visiting, like while I was visiting chemotherapy appointments and doing different things like that. And about 6 months in, he ended up passing away. And like it I mean, it was difficult. Like I had so many different things going up in life at that point. And on top of that, I also almost lost my job as well. I wasn't doing the right things. I wasn't like um doing enough work. So I actually had a big conversation with my director, and he's like, hey, like, should I still really be here? And so that for me was like, I just started to think of like all the different things that I went through. There's no way this is the end. I'm not going to sit here and go back to, working a job that I don't enjoy, things like that. So that was a huge turning point for me to really kick in gear and actually start working and stop making excuses for myself and just doing the work, putting my head down. I had to make sacrifices, but actually just doing the work. And of course, my amazing coach as well was there too to kind of help encourage me, and really allow me to see more of what I could have. Um, yeah, those are what I'd say the three big rock bottoms for me.
Okay, and so why not just be a victim? Like why fight out of those? Why swim from the bottom of the pool back to the surface? Why not just give up? Because I mean, the first one you talked about, I think, would have taken most people out.
I'm stubborn. I'm real. I'm really stubborn. Um, but so this focusing on the victim mindset, like I lived in that for so long, and I I think we all want more. I think we all desire to have more, desire to have, good family, good career, good community. And I realized like just continuing to blame everyone else for all the things that were happening was not going to get me there. Like continuing to like, cause being a victim, it just took away my power. Like I just felt like I had no choices. Life was just coming at me. I didn't have any type of plan, I didn't have any type of way to react to it. And actually this kind of comes back from Stephen Covey's book, but like focusing on my circle of influence and my circle of concern, and starting to only concern myself with things that I can influence. And when I started to live by that, I realized that there's a lot of things that I do actually have a pretty big influence on. Like, you know, what time I wake up, if I'm working on my body, if I'm reading, if I'm like learning, and starting to envelop myself in all that different content, and also starting to focus on the things I could control, I realized that like I have the power to change so much. Why not? Like, it's like, I know I could get to, I think of it like I think into the future a lot. And I think about like, all right, I can live to 85, 90, continue to be in this victim mindset, continue to do things I do. And I'm going to look back, I'm going to be like, why didn't I take any opportunities? I could have had a much better life. And I would just regret so many of the decisions that I made, knowing I could have done something differently. And so many people get to that point and are there. Am I going to just now know the destination? And, it's like, there's this thing I read. It's like some people walk across the truth and then see it and then willfully go along the way like they never, crossed it at all. And I was like, I saw the truth. I saw what was there. I can't just act like I didn't see it. I can't just act like I'm not lighting down this road. And I was like, no, I got to take this other road. Like, I know where this goes and I'm not going to live this life. Like, I chose to live, a different life. And I think oftentimes we don't always accept the consequences of the things we're doing. We feel like it's for some way or for some reason going to lead to something different. But it's like, we have to accept each consequence of all the decisions we make and where it's leading to. And I think also putting the thought to actually take a look into the future can be a little, trying sometimes, especially depending on where you are in life, but take a look and say, all right, where is this leading to? And do I accept that? If you do accept it, yeah. But if you don't accept it, something's going to have to change.
Something's going to have to change. That's been a recurring message throughout this episode of choice and being able to change and doing something different. And I can keep going down the list, but that's amazing. So you fight back from those things. You go into this new career, right? Mm-hmm. And you got to be intimidated because
yeah,
there's a bunch of people there and you're like, well, I've never had money, but I'm going to be sitting down in front of these folks. So like, what was your biggest fear going into the new role? Because I mean, it's a dramatic change from what you were doing before.
Yeah, it was a massive shift. And my biggest fear was not being able to truly serve people and I didn't have the knowledge and when I first started, I felt like I didn't have the competency, didn't have the experience. And so all that stuff just kind of played into that self-doubt. I was like, is this something that I can actually become good at? Can I actually make a career out of this? Do I have it in me in order to become the person that can be successful at this? So it was like, I kind of like, I knew that I had the hard work. That was one thing. Like, I was like, all right, I could work hard, but like, am I going to learn the right things? Am I going to, because I had to grow a lot. Like, having difficult conversations, that was something I wasn't, used to. I realized I grew so much from myself emotionally, from having conversations with people, and the competence, the educational portions, that all just came as time went on. I think the biggest fear was just like the fear of whether or not I could actually really do it. And that was something that was just always in the back of my mind. Like, am I going to be successful at this? Like, taking a huge risk. I have to build a business. Like, will I be all right? So those are some of the biggest fears that's coming into my mind. And also I had a huge fear of judgment as well. that was something that was pretty hard for me to like overcome as well. Like, because oftentimes when we start something new, especially if it's an entrepreneurial endeavor, or just like doing something we haven't done before, a lot of people around us may not initially encourage us, and they may even discourage us. And getting through that to see and continue on the path that we're walking down can be very difficult, especially if those people have been there, at other times in life. But I realized that like I have to continue to live and by what I know is authentically myself. Again, to not go back to that period of regret that I'd face, 76 at 80, 90 years old. Like I have to continue to live in what I believe is to be the thing that I am doing that's walking in my purpose, and not try and live whatever someone else's narrative the story is for me. Like not try and live in that space where someone else, oh, you should do this, you should do this, which is what I was doing for many years of my life. Like I was just going based off where other people told me I should go.
And when was it, or what was it, kind of that red pill moment for you? You're like, no, I got a choice. I get to decide. Can you remember that day or that decision that you're like, it's different now?
Yeah. So let me think back to this. So I would say that red pill moment for me, I want to say I was getting there, but I truly realized it when I got the announcement that I was in the running for Rookie of the Year. I feel like that was for me, like I was slowly getting there, kind of going through the ups and downs. But when I heard that, to me, that was a sign. I was like, wow, like I actually can build a life that I want. Like all of these things are possible. And it's just continuing to do the work, continuing to grow, continuing to be in the space on the path I'm on. And I can live in the dream that I want. And it's like, I have everything I need to do it. I feel like before then, like I was like kind of just going by, like I felt like I was, doing well in things. But when I heard that, like, wow, I'm one of the top advisors in the state, like that to me, it was mind blowing. But I felt at that moment, I truly started to accept the greatness.
So it was still external. So somebody recognized, well, it was somebody measured your performance against your peers and told you, hey, you're standing out. Is that right?
Yeah, that was it. I like, and I'm gonna kind of dive back in deep into that. That was it, but it was also my awesome coach as well. And seeing it, or him seeing it in me, and me starting to truly accept and believe it. You guys don't know my awesome coach is Jerome.
You gotta believe it. You gotta believe it, man. So you believed. Yeah, it was interesting. I was listening to The Rock on my run this morning, and he was talking about a quote from Mickey Johnson that basically said, your perception kind of impacts the way that you work, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you can borrow somebody else's confidence in you in
Mm-hmm.
order to fuel you until you actually believe in yourself. And so this concept of doing the work prior to getting the outcome is really an interesting one that you put in front of us. So, okay. What are you most
And
grateful for?
I want to answer that. I want to dive back into doing the work before we have that outcome, because I think that was a huge part of the journey that like really perpetuated me. Like for me, at least, and I feel like for many people, that belief in ourself oftentimes isn't just there immediately, and it takes time in order to get that. Like it takes time, and it takes results in order to, for many people to have that belief, to have that confidence. But we have to do the work and become the person in order to actually get there. Like it's not, I didn't just wake up and have the confidence, wake up and have be that person. Like it was just having the faith that what I was doing, like having the faith that I was doing the right things and believing in that process in order to get there. It's like when you start working out, like man, like I don't have a six pack yet. And I'm super sore from yesterday's workout, but you have to continue to believe in that work in order to get to that spot. And it never happens immediately. It's like, it's a process. It takes time. It takes patience, but continuing and having that consistency really gets us there. What am I most grateful for? I would say more than anything else, I'm grateful for the relationships that I have and the people that are in my life. I feel like for many years, I was living in a space, especially like when I started like picking up on like the self-development and all that stuff, that I was just living in this space and I had this mindset that like no one around me really had. And I was always really hard to feel connected to people because I just had this vision, had this like place I wanted to go, but it's like no one else is really around. So there's no one to talk about it with and things along those lines. And what this, like the decisions that I've made have brought me here, what that's also does is brought people around me, like people like yourself, like my director, like new friends, clients, like all these people that I truly feel like a real connection to. And I can be, they're like delivering value to me in my relationship. I'm delivering value to them. Like and it feels so much more alive. Like I felt like I'm like so many of my relationships in the past just weren't authentic. Like they were just there and they were just like almost placeholders because I couldn't really say anything and not, and like, it's just like, I was there. Like, I just didn't really I never really felt connected in so many ways, but the people that are in my life now, and the people that are coming to my life as time goes on, I truly feel like those are the most authentic and real connections I've ever had. And it's amazing to watch those people grow and encourage them and, see them live out their lives and have that reciprocity as well, to know that they want me in their lives, so it's pretty awesome.
That is awesome. I think most of us
And
were looking. Go ahead.
sorry, I was going to say, and the money is pretty great as well. Can't forget about that. But the people.
Well, I think you've made it pretty clear. Like the money's just a tool that creates options, right? And
Yeah.
so if you don't have capacity, then it limits what you can actually do.
Yeah.
You're most grateful for your relationships. I think a lot of people downplay the relationships, or they just wonder,
Yeah.
hey, what can the relationship do for me? And you're saying, no, I'm excited about mutually beneficial relationships
Mm-hmm.
and the ability to just be me in that space and know that I'm accepted, but also encouraged to strive to become my best self because I haven't arrived
Mm-hmm.
yet. That's a very mature perspective. And I think most people don't ever actually get there. So, we take that question and then I pivot and I ask you, what dream are you most focused on catching next?
The dream that I'm focused on catching next. I'd say the biggest dream that I'm focused on catching next is I want to create over the next 5 years. I want to help create 10 millionaires over the next 5 years. I want to continue to live in my purpose, live in authenticity, and start a family in the next 5 years, start living in my dream, which I'm doing now, but really starting to build my tribe, starting to create more people around me in addition to the ones I already have that are, driven, that have purpose. Because one of the things I truly just love is investing in other people. Like I love seeing other people grow. So continue to have awesome people, and truly living intentional, like really focused on intention. Yeah.
So it's interesting. You brought up the desire to invest in other people, and you've got a podcast. What's it called?
Thriving through trauma.
Thriving Through Trauma. And so, podcast listeners listen to podcasts. So, folks, hop over to iTunes and grab that or whatever your favorite platform is. Thriving Through Trauma. Why'd you want to start that as a podcast?
Yeah, great question. So I realized, especially over the course of the year, all the work that I had to do in order to get here was so necessary in so many ways. Now I feel as though that the outcome that I had would have been nearly impossible, if not impossible, if I did not do that work. And the work on focusing on where I need to heal from the trauma that I experienced. And I believe that everyone has trauma. Everyone goes through different things like that has a huge impact on them. So my main mission for starting this podcast is to help people improve spiritually, emotionally, mentally, physically and financially, and doing that through one, normalizing the conversation around trauma. We don't never talk about it. We don't talk about the impacts it has. We act like it's this taboo conversation and we just avoid it, but it's like the elephant in the room. Everyone goes through these things. We need to start normalizing this conversation. And then second, I want to humanize great people around us. I feel as though oftentimes we see awesome people, whether it be business owners, athletes, actors, and we're like, wow, like they're just lucky. We're blessed. They have all the right things. But oftentimes a lot of these people have gone through immense struggles themselves, and what doesn't kill you makes us stronger. And they've gained the strength and the courage to then conquer something else great. And I feel though everyone has greatness inside them that they can get to, but it requires us to conquer what's holding us back internally and break through that glass ceiling. And third, to really give people solutions and strategies. I believe that trauma is one of the things that, was able to bring, us close when we're able to relate on the things that have caused us pain in life. So giving people solutions and strategies to overcome this again and to step into their greatness.
Outstanding, man. I think that's a worthy pursuit for sure. So, Kofi, I just want to throw a little bit of love on you, brother, and get it on the recording, man. You are the epitome of a dream catcher. I think today you live a life that you couldn't have saw for yourself 2 years ago. And I just smile when I realize in some months you make more money than you made over the course of a year. That for me is just one of the things that becomes baffling as we begin to unlock the possibilities by harnessing our capabilities. So, you know, I, you're a fighter, man. You've been through so much. You've overcome things that a lot of people I think would have just folded up and gave up. And you said, no, there's more for me, and I'm willing to go out and seek help to help me go to that new level. And I'm willing to do the work instead of figure out how not to do it in order to get the things that I am saying that I want most in my life. So, brother, I just want to affirm you and let you know there's still so much more for you. We got some big goals for 2022. You're looking at a pretty cool car right now, which really excites me because
Oh
I'm a car
yes.
guy. And I can't wait to do a car rally or something with you in the near future. So, the final question, the one I try to end this episode with every time, is what's the one thing you want the listeners to take away from this episode?
The one thing that I'd love for the listeners to take away in this episode, that would be, we can all achieve greatness and we can all step into our greatness, but we have to make the choice to do it. And we not just make the choice to do it, but also make the choice to do the work that it takes to get there. And I believe that's an opportunity that's available to every single one of us. But we have to seriously sit down, be with ourselves, and make that decision and make a commitment to that decision as well.
Make a commitment to the decision. Guys, gentlemen, ladies, you heard it from the man himself, Kofi Thompson, Rookie of the Year for the state of Virginia. Thank you so much for joining us on this episode.
Thank you.
To the listeners, the tribe is with you. We'll talk soon.
Thank you for joining the tribe today. We would love to hear from you. Please don't forget to rate, like, and share. Perhaps someone you know could benefit from what we've discussed. Until the next time, remember that your dreams should be real.